Hello, David Zaritsky for the Bond Experience. Welcome back. So today I want to talk to you about age. And I've done something with this video, or maybe it's what I haven't done. And I haven't put any filters on this video. In fact, I don't put filters on my video. You could see every furrowed brow. You could see all the craggly lines in here where you can like basically park a bicycle. There's so many lines. You can see age. You can see mileage. You can see experience. However you want to denote it in whatever positive or negative way, you can see that I am not what you would call a youngster. As I'm doing this video, I am 56 years old. I've earned every one of these silver, let's not kid ourselves, gray hair, thinning in areas. I've earned it all, good and bad. And it is a sign of me living a story, my own story and my own journey. By the way, I've done also something else. I use these really cool lights when I do videos. I've turned them up to 100%. Yeah, usually I have them at 60%, because meh. But I've done it up at 100% so you can really see me in how I've aged. Because I want to talk about James Bond and age. And there seems to be a conversation that I hadn't heard in years past, or at least I haven't heard it as profoundly. And that is the whole idea of some James Bond actors are too old or will be too old by the time they start filming to play James Bond. And I think this is an interesting statement. And it is a statement. I mean, people say it as a matter of fact. They'll say things like, let's take our thumbnail star, Henry Cavill, who I really like for a myriad of different reasons that I've talked about. I think he looks the part, he acts the part. You don't need a Shakespearean actor to play James Bond. You need someone that can sell the action, sell the charm and the charisma, the magnetism. He's got all that. I think he's entertaining to watch. People adore him. He will get button seats. And my own favorite part about Henry Cavill, he's a self-professed geek, and therefore he's a fan. He understands fan. He would be the most incredible Bond ambassador you could ever imagine. I know it. In fact, he's got this great quote about that he doesn't call it fan toxicity, he calls it fan passion. And he's corrected so many interviewers that love to like poke the little bear. They like to poke the button. Why did I sound like Jiminy Glick for a second? They like to poke the button of the whole idea of fans being toxic. And he said, don't feed into that, they're passionate. So all those reasons I talk about Henry Cavill, but it's amazing how I'll bring it up nowadays and people say, he's too old to play Bond. So too old. And he's going to be too old. If they want him around for 15 years, he's going to be too old. And I'm thinking like, when somebody says that a certain Bond actor is going to be too old, are they really saying that they're going to look too old? Isn't that what they're really translating to? Which is why I've turned up the lights 100%. I don't know if I look 56. You be the judge. Maybe I look every moment of 56. I don't feel 56. I feel healthier than a lot of my friends who are in their 30s and 40s and even 20s. I'm active. I live an active lifestyle, but maybe I look like the ravages of time to some people. Is that what they're talking about when they say a certain Bond actor will be too old? Because if you think about it, since the dawning of cinema, people have been playing different ages. Younger people have been playing older, and a lot of older people have been playing much younger. Think about during the 80s and 90s, whenever they would have a high school or a college movie, the Bedazzled type movies or Zapped or things like that, they would always have individuals that were in their 20s and 30s playing the teens. And nobody had an issue with it because psychologically it would just wash over us. And if it was a good story, if it was a good characterization, if it was well directed with good actors, it would sort of neutralize. It would just sort of wash over you and you wouldn't care. You wouldn't look at that person and go, my gosh, they're old enough to be, collecting Social Security at this point. and yet they're a junior in high school. Nobody followed suit to that. We just accepted it. But nowadays, there's so much scrutiny. You can't play against culture. You can't play against type. You can't play against this. Politics, proclivities, all those things are being weighed. So when did we all of a sudden become so laser focused on age? Now let's take Aaron Taylor Johnson. When it was announced, people talked about two things. Look back in the comments, I dare you. They talked about the fact that, hey, he seems like he could look the part. He looks the part. That's all about physicality. All about physicality, right? He looks the part. He looks like he could tear you apart. He's got the washboard abs and he looks handsome and he's becoming and all those things. Looks the part. But the second thing everybody said was, he's about the right age. Now hold on a second, David. If you were correlating looks with age and already looks the part, why should the age thing matter? And by the way, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, I'm sort of building a defense here that I don't know if age is as important as we think it should be when it comes to James Bond and the next actor. I think they need to have a certain amount of physicality. They obviously need to have looks. Sorry if you hate me for that, but they do. And they need to be able to be mobile and action-oriented, charisma, all the things I talked about with Henry Cavill. But so why is Henry Cavill too old? And I think it's something that we as a society, and maybe even we as a Bond community, faction of the overall society, the normies over here, the Bond community over here, that we've become habitual. It's become habit and de rigueur to bring up certain things when we analyze, when we poke at, when we review the Bond actors who could be. So one of the things we look at is, could they look the part? That's usually the first one. And close to second is the age. And what I'm trying to do is talk to you as a fellow listener and a fellow Bond fan is, can we start to not think about age so much? Now, the arched eyebrow, excuse the pun, the arched eyebrow in all of you, the more sardonic ones of you should be saying, hey, David, have you seen A View to a Kill? Roger Moore was a little long in the tooth. He was. But Roger Moore also was looking his age. People back then, take a look at Diamonds Are Forever. Connery was in his 40s or early 50s at best, but he looked his age. I mean, he just did. He looked actually better in Never Say Never Again, which kind of flies in the face of that. But it all depends on how you project yourself, your physicality, your shape, the way you look. And I'm just going to say it, and you're going to say, oh, all this metaphysical mumbo jumbo. It's your energy. Henry Cavill has a great energy level. And by the way, this is not, I promise you, despite the thumbnail, a petition for Henry Cavill. It isn't. Either you're going to be convinced that he's a great Bond or could be a great Bond or not. All right, so let's put away maybe for a second the whole idea of age and looks and things like that. If you've heard me, you've heard me. If not, I'm not here to convince you. You have your own opinion. I'd like to see it below. But let's move on a little bit to this whole idea of the time factor that we need to think about a Bond owning that movie. Now, years ago, from the powers that be, the producers themselves, they said they need to hire an actor who can really run with them for a 15-year period, for 3 to 4 movies, however, whatever joke you want to insert in there as far as how many movies you get out of 15 years nowadays. In the Bond world, please insert the joke. You're well appreciated. But let's say, for argument's sake, it's 3 to 4 movies in a 15-year expanse. If you do the math and you say Henry Cavill is 40 years old and he's going to be 55, will you think about saying, well, hold on a second, so at the end of his reign, he's going to be 55? Not really. Let's do the math. When he films that last or third Bond film, he's probably going to be about 52. So is 52 too old? Well, go back to my earlier defense. How is Henry Cavill going to look at 52? Nobody knows. We don't have a crystal ball. But I dare say nowadays in Hollywood and beyond, you can really create a certain physicality and look of youth beyond what we were able to do, let's say, oh, I don't know, in the 70s and 80s when Sean Connery and Roger Moore were battling, and I will say this, battling the perception of age, of a Bond being too old. And by the way, I get it. I get it. There should be a marketing spin in all of this of, hold on a second, David, I think we have the older guys like you. I think we already have those Bond fans. We don't need to sell them in. They're going to show up to our film. We need to attract a younger audience. This is another thing that I hear about age all the time. So it's not just that actor's too old. It's they need a younger person, a younger Bond actor to attract a younger audience. My defense to that is, have you ever heard of Keanu Reeves? Or quite frankly, any of the older action heroes where people drive to, I don't know, a certain guy named Tom Cruise. These people have the highest box office movies. They're still drawing a lot of individuals. They bring in the family units, which really isn't age related because you have all different levels and ages within a family. So that kind of neutralizes that. But let's play the game. Let's play the game that you're this crispy marketer and you're like, hey, everyone in the world, I need a younger Bond fan. Let's have a younger Bond. And you bring that younger Bond in. The question you have to ask is it going to dissuade a David Zaritsky who's 56 years old if I see a 26-year-old Bond? And the answer I'll give from my point of view is no. No, it wouldn't. It would not dissuade me to see a younger Bond because Bond to me doesn't factor into the idea of age. I can relax in a movie theater eating my sticky buttery popcorn out of an inappropriate popcorn bucket and watch a Bond film and enjoy it with a 26-year-old Bond as much as a 40-year-old Bond. And why is that? Because I'm not sitting there, call me crazy, and analyzing the age of that actor or the age of that character. In a good Bond film, when you watch a good Bond film, you're letting the whole story permeate you. You're escaping with it. You're leaving this plane, this earthly plane that we call normal, and we're heading down this road and we're with whatever situation the producers, the writers, the director, and the actors have in store for us. If I come out of that and I start going, he's awfully young for this. Would he have the right experience? I've lost. And I get it. We Bond fans do nothing but analyze these type of things. But what I'm saying is age is not a high relevance for me in Bond. Older or younger. Now, the last thing I'll end with are the extremes. What do I mean by the extremes? So let's take the scenario where Bond is 16 years old. Played by a 16-year-old actor, but also portrayed. Problem. I'd have a problem with that because, again, it takes me out of the characterization of an experienced individual, at least 2 kills, born and bred as an assassination. Then it turns into something else. It turns into a little bit of a comedy or James Bond Jr. or, Alex, I was going to say Alex Lamas. That's my friend. Alex, the guy, it's a series. Horowitz wrote it. Damn it. It'll come to me right when I hit stop record. You'll see. And then if I go to the extreme of I don't think it can be like a 65, 70-year-old either. Because then we've seen what happens to Indiana Jones. They have to build the action around the individual. It's not the individual that's driving the action. That's the spearhead of the action. They have to drive all the things around it. So this person who's 70 years old, like an Indiana Jones, has to kind of sit amongst there and move very slowly through the story as the story is whipping around them. And that's not what I want with Bond. But you can actually take a 35 or a 40-year-old actor and make them run right through a wall in the story and in the action, spearheading the whole way. So Henry Cavill for Bond. Oh, no, wait, I'm sorry. I said I would not petition for that, damn it. But anyway, thanks for this. I thought about it a little bit today. First of all, I accept my age. I accept every wrinkle, every moment, every spot as something to be rejoiced. But I also rejoice younger people in that they have their journey ahead of them in many cases, and they know a lot more than I do. So who knows? I'd love your opinion. The age of a Bond actor, how important is it? And more importantly, is it going to dismiss a lot of these actors that we've been talking about, especially if they're not going to film for another year or two? It's a possibility. Leave the comments below. In the meantime, this has been David Zaritsky for the Bond Experience. We'll see you all real soon. Take care. Thanks for watching this episode. If you want to be up on the latest from the Bond Experience, just click on this subscribe and subscribe to our channel. You're going to get all the latest and greatest information, plus some exclusive content. And by the way, speaking of content, here's something especially for you, just because we know you. Talk to you soon.